Guys, Dan Hendriksen here at Torquay Pro Shop. I have brought in with me today somebody who I've been working on with their game.
Hello guys.
Richard Woods from Dainton Park is professional at Dainton, aren't you, Richard?
I'm indeed head professional, yeah.
Head professional, and you have brought in a couple of drivers to test, really, haven't you?
Yes.
You kind of decide what clubs you're going to be putting in the bag for this year, but you're now testing two drivers.
Yeah, doing different things, one going a little further, one being a little straighter, so just got to decide what's going to work best through the season, really.
And this is quite common for a lot of pros when certainly someone in Richard's position who, let's say, can get access to drivers on a regular basis, sometimes they do tweak a little bit with their clubs. So I thought we would go through a process today to see which club is going to work best for Rich for this year, and then hopefully we'll be able to take it to the golf course and see how he gets on, maybe in tournament golf. Just getting your own golf ball there, aren't you?
I am indeed.
So I've got Pro Vs in the studio, but you opt to use the TaylorMade TP5. Okay, so just talk me through what driver setup you've actually got in this TaylorMade to start us off with.
So I kind of went and got a little bit fitted for the TaylorMade.
Okay, good, well done.
And I found my bad shot definitely leaks to the right.
Yeah.
And I've always, for a long, long time, I've always gone 10.5 and then lofted down to kind of round sort of 10 degrees.
Okay, and why have you done that in the past?
To get my kind of optimum launch, optimum spin numbers.
Okay.
But what I did find, and this is talking with TaylorMade, I didn't realise how much it changed where the club was pointing. So by taking it 1.5 degrees less lofted, I was actually opening it up 3 degrees.
Okay.
And when my bad miss is
a bit right,
uphill to the right, it's ludicrous.
It was affecting you. And what loft have you got on this now?
So I've got that set at 10 at the minute.
Right.
It's quite low spin, so I've just got it a little bit. So
you've lofted it from 8 to 10.
Yeah, so maximum loft.
Maximum loft, and you've got weight port. There's a weight port right in the sort of front part here of the TaylorMade SIM, and that's now put into draw.
To draw bias, really just to try and get rid of that leaky right one.
Before Rich starts hitting some shots here, I've noticed that obviously he's lofted the club up from 8 to 10. So what I'm going to be interested to see, and I've dotted the face up, is where he starts to strike the ball on the club face. Because if you loft the club up, the general pattern is that you might start to strike it a little bit lower in the face, which then might increase his spin numbers a little bit. The other thing is he's set the weight in the heel. Now, a lot of players can be what I call CG trackers, players that sort of tend to follow where the weight is placed in the head. If he's put it in the heel, it'd be interesting to see if he starts to strike a few out of the heel. Let's get him to hit a few shots. Getting some numbers here. Bomb balls. Okay, that's 5 or 6 shots that you've hit there. How do you feel like you've hit them?
I don't feel I've like middled them, but I think I'm getting pretty decent results.
Okay, should we look at the numbers from that?
Yeah.
Right, Rich, some very good numbers with what you're getting with that driver. Let's just start with your dispersion, okay? So dispersion-wise, other than that one shot that sort of leaked off to the right-hand side down the bottom here, the rest, I would say, are pretty good. Yeah. Like you're pretty much you're averaging around 11 yards right of target.
Okay.
But for the most part, I would say it's pretty tidy.
Cool.
Just a small drift from left to right,
my
which
shape,
is kind of your kind of stock shot from there. If we go through the numbers, so on an average, you're launching at around 11.4 off the face. Yeah. Okay. There's one there that sort of just jumps out that's at 7.8, that was your miss hit that really did leak off. So take that one out and you're at around 12 degree launch, but let's leave it in for these numbers. Yeah. Spin, you're spinning it at 2.8, so pretty good from a spin point of view. Fractionally high,
maybe a touch.
From if you're trying to maximise what your distance is, but maybe from a playing point of view, it might actually fit in quite nicely to the way you play. Yeah. As in, I think you'll maybe hit more fairways. I like that spin up around there, but on the same scale is that, you know, it can affect your distance. And if we look here, 275 on an average. If I look at your club head speed, your average of 117.4, you're out there. You know, you can hit it out there. Now, if you take in comparison to me, my club head speed is around 110 to 112. My average carry is around 270.
Yeah, so I should be further up.
Yeah, so I'm kind of optimising. There's still more in the tank with you. But the one thing that kind of is jumping out to me, even though I thought maybe you might start to track the heel with this driver because the weight is maybe stuffed in the heel of the club, you're not.
Okay.
You're averaging 2 millimeters in the toe.
Right.
But the one thing that does slightly concern me is where you start to strike it maybe a fraction low in the face.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about that with tilting the face back, or adding loft to the driver.
Pushes the leading edge up.
It might just push that leading edge up a little bit, which might keep your strike a little bit low, which in turn, the lower we hit it on the face, the lower the launch is going to be, and the higher, as that curvature of the face goes, the higher you get it up the face, the more you can pop it up in the air.
Okay.
So I'm now going to loft Rich's club down a fraction. So I'm trying to almost take loft off, but I'm trying to push the strike higher on the face, which in turn will hopefully get him to hit it with a bit more launch, but also reduce his spin and get him hitting it a bit further. It's like the #1 wrench in golf, that.
So I had it 2 degrees more lofted, and then these notches here, each notch is 0.75. Right, so what do you reckon, Dan? We go just 1 notch?
Yeah, just...
So 875 that is now.
8.75, just bring it forward just a fraction if we can.
So that's 875, so that is now 1.5 degrees closed.
Okay. Right, first things first, moving the loft down, so taking the loft off this club. How did the strike feel? We'll talk about the numbers in a moment.
Yeah.
Did you notice a difference in the strike?
Yeah, it felt meatier. It felt more solid.
Okay.
I was getting a bit of a sort of tinny sensation when I was hitting it previously, whereas it felt more solid, which I can only, like guessing, I can only assume that it's come further up the face.
So when we had it in the first set position, did it feel slightly weaker than the second position?
Yeah, a bit vibraty sort of.
Okay, so you're getting a bit more shuddering at the shaft, maybe with the first setup than the second setup.
Yeah, it felt more solid, the second setup.
And that is good to get feedback from the player as to how he feels that where it's moving up and down the face, how it reacts to what you're getting, basically.
Yeah.
So let's just look at what the numbers you're getting from this, Rich. So I've left them all in at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, and we will take a couple out because there was a couple of incidents in there. Okay, but if we now start to look, remember your previous setup was 2.8 spin, 2.861 average spin. You would hitting it 38 yards high on average, and you were carrying it 275. Felt like we were leaving a little bit on the table.
Yeah.
The swing speed, I have to point out, you've picked up 1 mile an hour, but there was a misread right the first one. Now I'm going to take that shot 8 out, right there, and that brings your swing speed to basically the same. So 117.4 compared to 117.9. So, okay, 0.6 or 0.5 difference between them. If we come back to your actual data then, your launch has gone from 11.4 to now 10.7. It's done exactly what I thought it would do from your spin.
Yeah.
So you've come from 2.861 to now 2.375.
I'd assume I'm getting some extra distance out of it.
Well, you are. You've gone from 2.75 an average carry to now 2.88.
Wow.
And really, to be honest with you, I mean, again, I've played enough with Rich. I know how far he hits it in 290 to 291. Your 2-3 best ones there. You know, that's where you're at.
Yeah,
so you're a 300-yard player, you know. And then if we move Rich over and we look at some of the strike performances, so you were 3 millimeters low, and you've now moved it to 1 millimeter high. It's not a massive shift, but you can see that.
It's what we kind of were playing for, wasn't it?
Correct. You push that face slightly further forward. It should hope to bring the strike a little bit higher. Your efficiency has gone up from 1.41 to 1.43, which then means in turn that your ball speed has gone from 165 to 168. I would want to experiment more with Rich's loft on this driver, as in I would prefer that Rich came into the studio with maybe a 10-degree driver or even a 9-degree driver, and then we start to take the loft off it that way. I'm kind of I'd rather see you get it. I want to get Rich to get it higher in the face again with the strike, because I think he'll perform even better. But I think because he's got the 8 degree, we're only able to kind of really loft him up. which is then pushing his strike a little bit lower. I'd like to see him maybe get the 10 degree. I don't know what they make, whether it's a 10 or a 9.
8, 9, 10.5.
Okay, so 10.5 or even a 9 degree, and then shift it down a fraction. Let's now compare it to the Mizuno. Let's look at that Mizuno.
ST200G, which is the one with the movable weights.
Again, you've popped it into the heel again, haven't you? And it's not a bad thing, considering you're not tracking it in the previous driver.
Okay, and then loft-wise, I've got it set at 9. I'm really, it's very, very early days with this one, but I've got it set in an upright setting, which is 3 degrees upright.
Okay.
So again, the idea, my thoughts, my leak is to the right, so if I can get it starting a little bit further left potentially, I might get a...
Again, confidence, everything is like, you can see your brain ticking so much with, you know, you're playing more, so at the end of the day, you want to put that ball in play.
Exactly.
You know, you're probably happy to lose a few yards as long as it's in the middle of the fairway.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, let's hit it.
So this is Mizuno Shaft, yeah?
Yeah.
Tinkering.
Right, how did Mizuno feel now?
I hit really one solid one. I don't know if we captured it, but I sprayed it around the face a little bit. I didn't strike it. Yeah.
And do you feel that this Mizuno's been more favourable on the golf course than what, say, the TaylorMade has?
Yeah. So I'm on off-centre hits. I find this has been a lot more playable and keeping me in play. Definitely not as many right shots with it.
Okay. Now let's look at your dispersion to start us off with.
Yeah.
Massive spray.
Yeah, huge.
So again, like what you bring to the studio and then maybe what you're getting on the golf course is slightly different. Again, why it's so important to take these golf clubs to the golf course. I know it's not. I know that's not always easy for everybody down there to be able to go to a pro shop and do that. Some pros won't allow you to do that. Some will. But from Rich's point of view, he's got an opportunity to do that. So I suggest he would do that. If we come to your numbers now, and you've stated straight away that you felt that you were getting, in your testing back home, is you were getting maybe more club head speed out of the Mizuno, but not necessarily getting any more ball speed.
It wasn't equating to the ball speed.
So your efficiency being slightly lower in the Mizuno than, and you are right. You know, you are 1 mile an hour on an average quicker club head speed with the Mizuno. Now, I've just weighed these two clubs. I was expecting the Mizuno to come out maybe fractionally lighter.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because Rich is swinging it maybe just that fraction faster. Not the case. 5 grams heavier in the Mizuno than he is in the TaylorMade. And the other thing is, the TaylorMade is what?
Half an inch?
Half an inch longer than what the Mizuno is. Again, these are all... I'm a bit surprised in what I'm seeing with the numbers that we're getting from just those 2 points there. Let's get to numbers at the end of the day. Let's see what you're actually getting out of it. So you're launching it at 10.2 on an average.
Yeah.
Okay, I have taken out a couple of mishits here that didn't pick up register in your face.
Yeah.
So they're going to start to roughly calculate. So I want to get the guaranteed numbers here. So launching at 10.2, which is about, it's kind of in between where the first setup of the TaylorMade was with the second setup. The ball speed is 165.5, which is pretty similar to the original setup in the TaylorMade, but they're not as much as what you were getting out of the second setup in the TaylorMade. If we come to spin numbers, right in between the two clubs again, 2667 on the spin, which is again right between those two setups in the TaylorMade. Launching it, obviously that little bit lower, which in total then the flight is 32 yards at an average high. So it's dropping down in flight from what you're getting out of the TaylorMade. And then if we look at distance carry, where you're 276 on an average here.
Yeah.
You're best at 285.
Yeah, see that's the one that matches up, doesn't it?
But the 285 is what I took out because it was massively left.
Yeah.
So we can't even look at that. The other one to that is 282. So even though it's good, it's just it's not as good as what your potential is with the TaylorMade. It's a lot of numbers there, Richard.
Yes.
A lot of numbers. How are you feeling after you've kind of been through this little process with me then?
I'm really positive that I've got more in the tank than we were seeing originally. I got the SIM originally, was getting good sets of numbers, and started hitting it a little bit off the planet.
Yeah.
So I had a little play around with this one, hit it a lot straighter. I need to get on the golf course with both of them. From what we've seen today,
yeah,
this has got to be in the bag.
I would agree with that. I think that Rich needs to now take this to the golf course. He's got confidence in that Mizuno, but I just feel that the TaylorMade has a little bit more in the tank from what we were getting. I mean, he's swinging that Mizuno very, very well. He's getting a lot more clubhead speed, but ultimately his efficiency is not as good. His ball speed is slightly lower, which in turn is losing him yardage. His spin is pretty good and I think quite manageable for the golf course, but just not sure that he's going to maximize what this driver's giving him. He needs to now take it to the golf course. He needs to now put it into tournament play and get an idea as to how it's going to perform for him when he's under pressure. Let me know, put your comments down there. Have you tested either the new SIM driver from TaylorMade or the new Mizuno? I'd like to hear what you have to say about those two drivers. Thank you very much for your time, Rich.
No problem.
Good to see Rich out playing a little bit more this season. It'll be good to see some results from him. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing, and ring that bell if you want a few more notifications on videos coming your way. We look forward to catching up with you again soon.